everybody, it's time to talk about Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. That means it's a prequel. So, this is about a bunch of idiots going to this abandoned sanatorium, and they get picked off one by one by the family of cannibals, the Hilligers. They finally get a name. So, this one's fine. Like, it's not great. This is a franchise for gorehounds, and that's it. Like, this movie and the next two, it's just all about the kills. It's about showcasing mean, brutal, gnarly kills, and that's what this gives you. So there's my positive for this movie, is that the kills in this one, they up the gore, and they just up the ante. They get more and more creative. There's people getting like skinned alive, eaten alive. They go for it. There's actually a lot more cannibalism in this movie than some of the other ones. Like, I think part 2 probably has more cannibalism, but whatever. So, yeah, the kills and gore, great. There's less CGI than part 3. Part 3 had way too much CGI. This one doesn't really have much at all. And the chicks in this movie are amazing. This has the best looking cast. It's like they put an ad out for models instead of actors. It's like, we just want some models in here. And you get a lot of nudity. This probably has the most nudity in the franchise. You not only get to see heterosexual women having sex and taking their tops off, but we get to see lesbian couples having sex quite a couple of times in this movie. So there's a lot of that. It's very pornographic at times. I feel like I'm watching like a softcore porno. And I like the location. I like it. It's a change of pace. Instead of being in the woods again, they're in a creepy asylum place, and the way it looks and the atmosphere and the isolation, they're trapped there, all that stuff, great. And it's got continuity going. It's 2003. This is right before part 1, and it's got the 3 hillbillies from the first one. You got Sawtooth, you got Three Finger, you got One Eye, and they look okay. The effects on their faces are okay. It's not the best. It's still a downgrade from, the first 2, but it's not that bad. It gets worse and worse as the series goes on. 5 and 6 have the worst. Like, they start to look like freaking masks on their face instead of actual, like, deformed, skin. So, that's really all the positives. Negatives, here's a nitpick. This movie takes me out of it when it fails to actually feel cold. Like, this is not a winter movie where it sells you that these actors are actually where they are. Like, it doesn't actually feel like it's winter for 1 second, despite the whole movie being covered in, everything covered in snow. You see a bunch of like blizzard snow blowing around, but it looks fake. It looks like some kind of CGI snow on the screen, and then they're never like, they don't have like hot breath come out of their mouth. Like, you don't see the smoke come out. They never talk like they're cold, like you would. Have you ever like had a conversation outside when it's freezing, you're freezing your nuts off, and you try talking but your teeth are chattering? Like, they act like it's 20 degrees below zero, and they talk like how I'm talking, normal. Like, it's not cold. It took me out of it. It never feels cold. Like, when I watched Frozen, when I watched The Shining, not Frozen, the cartoon, fuck that movie. Frozen, Adam Green's Frozen, that was Frozen before Elsa became Frozen. Adam Green's Frozen and The Shining, when I watch those movies, I feel cold. I get a blanket when I'm watching it because it actually is authentic. Like, they shoot it on location. There's like real snow. You can see the breath. It feels cold. I don't feel that at all watching this movie. Nitpick, but whatever. I had to point it out because there's not much else to talk about. The acting, of course, not great, especially from a couple. Awful.
You fucking asshole!
Calm down. We're gonna have some fun.
Oh, I can't believe you! You're such a jerk!
And all these characters are fodder. Like, they're not set up at all. Besides being horny, they're just constantly fucking each other. And that's it. That's all I know about them. You got lesbian 1, lesbian 2, couple 1, couple 2, and couple 3, and they just get picked off. I'm just like waiting for all of them to die. There's nothing that stands out about any of these people except for a couple of their sexualities. It's like, all right, lesbians and then straight people. I don't know anything else about these people. I just want somebody to root for. I want somebody to stand out, somebody to be funny. They have like the one jokester character, but he's not funny. He's pranking them, but it's not funny. And then the writing is awful. Like, character decisions, things they fall for, things they do that make me shake my head and piss me off, especially one decision alone. And if you've seen the movie, I'm thinking you have, if you're watching this review, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That fucking decision, that is the worst, most unrealistic character decision in any horror movie I've ever fucking seen in my life. I'm saying it right now. Can you name one other character that was more stupid in a horror movie than this one? I'm waiting in the comment section. Let me know a more retarded piece of stupid shit in any other horror movie out there that's more retarded than this person.
Kyle, don't do this.
They deserve it.
Yeah, they do. But you don't. Don't do this to yourself.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
This woman just drove me mad. We can't hurt them. We have to be better than them. Like, they just fucking killed like 5 or 6 of your friends in front of you. And they were just about to kill you, but we're better than them. Get the fuck out of here. And then the fact that this is a prequel automatically lets you know that this movie is going to end with all of them dead and the 3 living. The 3 bad guys are going to live because they're in part 1. And it's an unnecessary prequel because it doesn't explain shit, doesn't expand on anything. We see them as kids for about 5 minutes, and all we learn is that, oh, they don't feel pain.
That's the fascinating thing about these children. They can't feel pain. They have an advanced form of congenital analgesia.
But then in some moments, they do feel pain. So it's inconsistent. And then in part 5 and 6, when they get hurt, they feel pain. What the fuck? So if you're going to do a prequel, explain something. All right? Do something. You know, give meaning to this film's existence by explaining something away. If you're going to be a prequel, there has to be a reason why you're going back. But this is quite honestly the definition of a cash grab. So final thoughts. This is a movie strictly for people who want to see idiot characters get picked off one by one in gruesome ways. This movie gives you the gore and the effects that were cut out of your favorite movies in the 80s. So at least you get that from this movie, but you're not going to get any cool characters. You get some nudity, like it checks the right boxes, but unfortunately the writing is very weak. The characters and the acting is weak, but the kills are very strong. So like if you're just a casual horror fan, skip this movie. But if you're like a slasher fan or you want to see some good gore and creative kills, then this might be somewhat entertaining to you. So when it comes to Wrong Turn 4, know who you are. If this sounds appealing to you, then maybe stream this or rent it at Redbox. Alright, so this movie opens up in 1974, and we learn that they can't feel pain, but that, like I said, is false because they clearly feel pain later on. And then we get this breakout scene, and it's one of the better scenes in the movie. You got like classical music playing over all the chaos. You got like insane people dancing together and people like being thrown downstairs in wheelchairs and shit. Just all kinds of chaos. A chick getting electrocuted to death, and you know, people just getting their noses eaten off and all kinds of crazy shit. And the guy who played that guy in the beginning actually is playing the adult version of Sawtooth. So, and then the one guy gets his arms and legs ripped off. Like, this is turning into Saw or Hostel. Like, this is going for the torture. People are getting tortured in this movie. But yeah, he's got like these barbed wire around his ankles and wrists, and like the chains are pulling it. His arms and legs get pulled off one by one. It's mostly practical. A little bit of CGI with the blood. Some CGI blood in the movie, but looks pretty good. And then we cut to 2003 and we get some lesbian sex. And they take a wrong turn on their snowmobiles. Yeah. And this guy, despite, the fact that he says, I've been to this cabin over 100 times. I know where I'm going. They get lost. And for some reason, they have to take a snowmobile to the cabin, and it's like an hour from the road. Like, who wants to go to a place that isolated? That's a stupid idea. And there's no cell phone signal, of course. And so then we see that the cannibals already killed one of their friends that didn't meet them before. So their friend Porter, they're like dragging a dead body to the place. You're like, who the fuck is that? But then later on, turns out to be one of their friends, Porter, who they turn into a porterhouse steak. And then we get the jokester character who he provides a couple of fake out scares in the movie, and I don't care for that shit. And I love how they don't question the fact that there's a generator there with gasoline in it that's fresh and working. Like, he turns on the generator. This place has been abandoned to them for decades. Like 30 years, and the gas in the generator still works. All right, somebody's been refilling that thing, obviously, because gas goes bad after a little bit. So the guy gets like the needle up his nose and like out his head. Pretty cool, mean kill. And then we see more lesbian sex, and they just leave the door wide open for anyone to walk by and see them. No such thing as privacy in these movies. And so then, just like in part one, she like sees one of her friends getting hacked up into pieces. So it kind of took me back to part one where they watched that redhead get like chopped on the table. And so then there's one girl, she gets hung with barbed wire, and they're pulling so hard on the barbed wire that it like pops her head off. Kind of like the intestines in Hatchet 2, but that's even more impossible. But in this one, it's like, that's still impossible. Like, how would the barbed wire do that? And I love how when her head pops off, it sounds like a cork of like a wine bottle popping off. The sound effect was pretty funny. And then the pigtail girl, she leaves. She's the only one with like skis, so she runs off like, I'll get help. And then later on, we see that she died of like hypothermia, like 20 feet from the road. Like, she couldn't make it the extra 20 feet to stop a car. Like, really? She was so close. And so yeah, then the girl stabs one of the bad guy's arms, who's like reaching through the door, grabbing one of them. She stabs the guy in the arm, and he like flinches it back, like he got hurt. I thought they didn't feel pain. What the fuck? So they're lying already. So then Daniel, he gets eaten alive, and it's brutal. Like, they're just taking like slabs of skin off of him, just big old like circles here and there, just taking pieces off of him. They're putting in like, you know, shish kebab sticks, or like making fondue. They're making fondue out of this guy. It's gruesome. And his scream like echoes for miles. Like, he's in the basement, they're on the first floor, like they're quite a distance away. And his scream sounds like he's like in the other room, but they have to travel like a great distance to get to him. So his scream echoes pretty good. And so then I love that he starts choking on Daniel, one of the bad guys, like one eye guy. He's like choking on Daniel, and he has the three fingers to like give him like the Heimlich. It reminded me of like Day of the Dead, choke on it. And so yeah, their plan would never work. Like, they actually somehow know the layout of this place, even though they've only been there for a few hours. But she's like, if we do this and you go over there and you throw the fire right here, they have no choice but to back up into one of these cells. And it's like, how the fuck do you know all this? You just got here, and then it somehow works. Like, they don't feel pain, supposedly. So what would stop them from jumping over that fire or walking through it? Like, and then what would stop them from just taking them on? Like, they get scared away into the cell by like 2 or 3 girls with little butcher knives. Get the fuck out of here. Like, their plan would never work. But of course it works. But then one of them has to ruin their plan by playing the Good Samaritan. Like, oh, we're better than that. We can't kill them. Even though they just made fondue out of a friend and they were trying to butcher us, we can't just light them on fire. And they kind of foreshadowed this dumbass decision earlier. Like, they foreshadow how nice of a person she is. When she says earlier, when she looks at the cells, she's like, oh, I can't believe they used to trap them in here like animals. It's like, fuck you. You're so stupid. Like, there's no such thing as evil people who deserve to be locked up. What are you? Oh my God, what a moron. I'm baffled by her stupidity. Like, I can't, there's no words for it. She's so stupid. Stupid's not even a good word for it. Like, she's more than stupid. And so yeah, after all that bullshit and oh, we're not them, we're better than them, all that shit. So they leave the one guy there to watch them. And he falls asleep. Like, really? Who would be able to fall asleep after everything they just went through? And like, it's not like they've been there hours, you know, and it's like a day later or some shit. Like, and he's exhausted. Like, no. Like, he was watching for maybe an hour at the most, and he's like, with 3 psychopaths in front of him who could escape at any moment. And of course they do. Because they're in the one cell that has a pick in there to pick the lock with that they used 30 years prior. Was that in every cell, Or is it just coincidentally in the one cell that they backed into? Because if it's just the one cell, that's fucking a coincidence. But if it was in every cell, then that means that they were planning for this shit to happen at some point. But whatever. So, yeah, that was just ridiculous. Like, he's falling asleep. What a fucking moron.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
And even though they see a hooded figure on the other side of the door with, like, his hands, like, cuffed or something. Like, his hands are, like, they have, like, things over them so he can't, like, take the mask off. Like, for some reason, I think there was something on his hands. And this person sounds different. He doesn't sound like the other people who are, grunting, like, deep grunts and, like, doing the three-finger laugh. Like, this person is clearly their friend. And they somehow fall for this fucking prank from the killers. They put the hood over him, they cut his tongue out, and he's just running around, stumbling all over the place, and they're like, let's get him! And they start stabbing the guy a bunch in the back, they flip him over, they take the mask off, and they realize it's their best friend. They're like, oh my gosh, we're so stupid, how could we have not known? Because you're idiots. Like, clearly that was the setup, and they fell for it. And then, like, one of them's trying, like, crawl away through the snow, but then the snow, like, starts falling down in front of her, and she just can't push it away, so she has to go back towards the killers. I don't think so. Like, any logical person in that scene, in that scenario, would just keep trying to push forward. They wouldn't just start backpedaling towards the killers with a giant, like, Slumber Party Massacre drill, and she gets drilled, like, right through the stomach. Pretty cool. And so, yeah, we get, like, this snowmobile kill. I like how they're, like, circling them like vultures at one point. And this one chick somehow gets caught and, like, roped underneath the snowmobile, and, like, the track, whatever it's called, the tire, whatever, it's, like, giving her, like, tire burn. It's just taking her whole chest off and just blood spewing everywhere. And I like that Three Finger was wearing that one guy's shirt. So just like in part 2, when he was wearing that one guy's scalp, he's, like, taking souvenirs from his victims. He's wearing their clothing. And so the killers are very quick to fix their snowmobiles. They took, like, all their spark plugs and, like, broke shit. And then when they're on the run, they just quickly, like, assemble the snowmobiles and start driving again. It's like, so these hillbilly morons who have no education, shouldn't know shit about snowmobiles, just know how to take apart and reassemble snowmobiles. Just, coincidence that they know all that shit. They're so smart. And so then, we get the two people, they escape, they're on the snowmobile, and then all of a sudden, just like in Killer Movie, another god-awful movie, they get their heads decapitated clean, like very clean cut from a barbed wire fence. And for some reason, she didn't see it. But was this a trap, or was it just a happy accident? Like, I don't know. Like, because they arrive, the killers, they arrive like a second later to collect the heads. And I thought it was odd that they only collected the heads and not the bodies. There's a lot more meat and food there with the bodies, but they just collect the heads instead. That doesn't seem like something they would do. But yeah, that was just ridiculous. I mean, think about it. Really, come on. How fast were they going? Barbed wire? That was like in 13 Sins too, right? Shit, maybe it is possible, because I'm seeing that in so many movies now where barbed wire fences can cut your head off if you drive into it fast enough. But it doesn't seem likely at all. It would just, it would knock you off your snowmobile. It would just be like that scene earlier with the branch that knocked him off the snowmobile. It would just knock you off. It wouldn't cut your head off, but why put logic into this film? So, yeah, they get their heads cut off, and it pissed me off too, because it was the character who wouldn't let them burn them alive earlier. Like, that's the character who should have been Fondue. The one who said, we're better than them. But she gets a very quick kill, and it's an accident. No. No. And that's the end of the movie. So Hockey Mask Award for Best Character is Daniel, because like I said, he's the most intelligent person in this movie. He even knows how to work a projection. So, shit, he's got some talent. And the Hanky Award for Worst Character in this movie is whatever her fucking name is, Lauren or Claire or whoever made that dumbass decision. Fuck her and her stupid face. And the hottest chick in this movie, it's hard to pick. There's so many beautiful ladies in here. But I'm going to go with the prankster guy's girlfriend. And the clap award for best scene is the opening breakout with the chaos and people just getting killed left and right and the classical music playing over it. And the Mr. Hat Award for best kill in this movie will be Daniel, who gets sliced up and eaten alive. Eaten alive. That's the worst way to go. And the Mr. Twig Award for worst kill in this movie is the accident towards the end, because that's hyper unrealistic if you ask me, and that bitch deserved a gruesome death. And those are my thoughts on Wrong Turn 4. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.